Hey all, DMV SoloRider back with another video. I am about to take 2024 Indian Sport Chief for a spin. I have never actually ridden the Sport Chief. On 20 foot-pounds of torque, 6-speed, 4-inch ride command with 3 ride modes. Club style, moto style bars, solo gunfighter seat, piggyback rear shocks, inverted front forks, Brembos. No, I'm good. Blah, blah, blah. I'll put all this up on the screen. Forward controls, these are really mid controls, I would say, more than forwards. I enjoyed the Chief when they first came out, and I rode every version of it at demo day. But having put plenty of miles on the Thunderstroke, it wasn't something that really spoke to me as far as, would this be my next bike? So I am 5'5", short little legs, short little arms. I can flat foot the bike with a wide stance. This pipe down here is pretty damn hot. As I recall from riding the non-sport Chief, not a lot of ground clearance here, which is fine. It's in sport mode. We are going to put it in standard to start. Wow, that heat off that pipe is really impressive. I gotta say that the seat on this Sport Chief is really nice. The back seat kind of cups your butt, gives you a little bit of lower back support. Probably not enough to replace a backrest if you need one of those. Oh, that's terrible. Oof. Alright, standard mode's that's a pretty forgiving throttle there. Alright, here we go. Feels good. Alright, we're in sport mode already. I don't know if there's something wrong with this throttle or what, but you could turn this pretty good and get nothing out of it. Back to standard. Now, my past thoughts on the Chief were it's an outstanding bike, plenty of power, a lot of fun, great looks. The question is, why would you buy one when it's noticeably more expensive than a Scout? This throttle was terrible. I don't know what that's all about. Yeah, I gotta be honest, guys, after 8 months of riding the FTR, this just feels bizarre. Having my feet out in front of me and leaning forward like you do on the FTR to some extent. Very strange sensation. Haven't ridden anything but the FTR since I got it. But anyways, what I was saying was, it's hard for me to really get why you'd get this bike, to be honest. At least when I rode it, you could get a Scout for 12 grand. This was like 16, 17. I think the Sport Chiefs are now like 21. I mean, 21 grand for an around town bike is crazy. And yes, the FTR is very much an around town bike. And it cost 18. I got it for 12. It's called equity, my friends. It's called equity. But I'm gonna have that FTR for quite a spell. Anyways, set aside price and all that. Let's just focus on the bike. Bike is in standard mode, as I mentioned. I don't know what's going on with the throttle on this bike. It feels like there is something wrong with it, like mechanically wrong with it. It's just very loosey-goosey. Even in standard mode, it should not be like that. Standard mode is your, just normal everyday power, not high power, not rain mode. Shouldn't be like that, where you get all that play, and I don't know. We will pop it into sport mode in a few minutes. Just want to try and get used to this, make sure I don't get myself in any trouble. And it could just be I'm wrong. I mean, you basically got to really pull on the throttle just to move in first gear. Feels good. You get a lot of vibration in the bars in like a good way. The way you want it. Mirrors, standard Indian mirrors, good visibility. Bike sounds phenomenal. Let's put this in sport mode because it's just bizarre. That's a little better. All right. Yeah, it's got rain, standard, sport. My experience with Indian motorcycles is all their modes are really noticeably different and purposeful. Like sport mode in this is jerky as hell. You get torque immediately. I just popped it into third to be a little polite. Jerky as hell. My FTR is 1,000 times smoother than this. And that bike is a bike that has a reputation of being a little temperamental in the throttle, at least early years. So it's got this little fairing. It's doing actually a pretty nice job. I have no buffeting, but I'm only, of course, going 46. And as I recall on our Thunderstroke here, its sweet spot is, I want to say, between 3,000 and 4,000 RPMs. So you get the most juice for your squeeze. It's been a minute. I could be off. Bike is super stable. Transmission is nice, clicks right into place. Nice positive feedback. Nothing squishy. It's a beautiful bike. I really love the way it looks. I'll be honest, I'm probably more comfortable on the FTR. Just this kind of clamshell seating position. After, some good time in the saddle on the FTR with my feet under me and behind me a little bit, that's 1,000 times more comfortable than sitting like a clamshell, to be honest. But hey, it's always nice to be on a V-twin. Clutch. Not a light pull. I mean, the FTR clutch is super light. Not a light pull, not a heavy pull. Is kind of, consistent with the Challenger. A little heavier than the Chieftain, which, as I recall, was pretty damn light. Holy, this bike's got some bite. It'll get away from you in a heartbeat if you're not careful. This throttle is so twitchy. Whew. None of my Indians, Scout, Chieftain, Challenger, FTR, none of them have been like this. This is, whew. If they didn't have the lip on the seat, I'd already rolled off the back. Just something to get used to. Yeah, these demo rides, it's hard to really get a great feel for a bike. I mean, you're in traffic. You got to go based on how the bikes in front of you are going. Hopefully the camera's getting the dash. I'm not a big fan of all this ride command doodah. I'm not going to flip through it. I'm sure Indian has a great video demonstration on their website if that's got your eye. You know, my experience with the tech is, you know, ride technology, like keeping you from going down in a curve, traction control, that stuff outstanding. But this kind of stuff with the nav and CarPlay on the other ride command, it's not worth even thinking about. I don't have any of that crap on my FTR. I have a 2022 FTR. It just has the nice TFT display, but put my phone on the bars. Phone works right every time. Nice and responsive. Bike dips into a curve without a problem. I think on the Sport Chief it's a little higher up, so you're not going to be dragging your pegs when you make a right at a light, which I experienced the first time I rode the Chief. We'll never get fast enough or low down enough to see how it is on this ride. That's okay. I mean, my FTR can lean way over, farther than any bike I've ever owned. I will never experience that. I don't have leathers. I don't have those metal knee pads. Met some great folks down here at Indian Motorcycle Fredericksburg. Shout out to their IMRG. I will see if I can find some time to join one of their rides. Met a viewer who came by to introduce himself. Thanked me for my Challenger reviews, and he now owns a Challenger. So does his son. Additional happy customers. I absolutely love that. I love hearing from people who've watched videos and they come introduce themselves. That's a lot of fun. My hands are numb from leaning forward on the bars. I get a little bit of that on the FTR. Not too much. I think on the FTR, obviously, it's very simple to just kind of grip the tank with your knees and just lightly steer the bike with a very light grip on the handlebars. I mean, you don't even really need to steer with your hands. Just lean a bit, bike follows you. I know I have not put a review or really much in the way of rides on the FTR on the channel. Like I said, when I got the FTR, I don't have a lot of time to ride. I got it in September. I still only have 2,000 miles on the bike. Just as an example of how little I'm riding right now. But you know, that's all part and parcel of why I traded in the Challenger for the FTR. I felt guilty as hell leaving an amazing bike like the Challenger parked in the garage all the time, knowing I wasn't gonna have time to take it anywhere other than local trips. And I love the FTR, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love the bike. We'll get to that when I get a review up. But I don't have a lick of guilt leaving it in the garage. Like, it's just a, you know, go out and have a fun little rip bike for me. And it's serving that purpose well. But, you know, I'm taking notes, organizing my thoughts. I don't think it's appropriate for me to do like an owner's review at only 2,000 miles. You know, I got to give it a little more time. You know, I just went out for a couple of rides. I think 2 out of 3 days a couple weeks ago. Good rides, you know, a couple 100 miles each. And I've discovered some new things. So if I had already filmed a review, we would have missed it. You know, you gotta, if you're gonna say, hey, here's my final analysis, you gotta actually have some time in the saddle. Well, hell, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, this 1/16 Thunderstroke on the Sport Chief, I mean, it feels real nice. It compares favorably to an FTR, at least, you know, at these speeds. Now we get up to 65 and the FTR is at 6,000 RPMs, and this thing is pulling over onto the shoulder, then you might have a different experience. No, I'm kidding. That would never happen on an Indian motorcycle. Brakes on the bike are fine. You know, it's a Thunderstroke. You got tons of engine braking. You really don't need to lay on the brakes. You know, you downshift, slow you right down. That is my preferred way of riding a motorcycle. I know others disagree or have their preferences. I like really torquey bikes with great engine braking, and this bike fits the bill. And it sounds amazing while you're on it. It sounds great to me riding on the bike, but so did the Challenger. But standing next to the Challenger at a light, you would not be impressed. I know that Indians stopped making the old Chief, I believe. That was a nice bike. If I was looking for a bike in this size range, I mean, I'd be hard pressed not to get a Springfield, or, you know, if they still made it, the old Chief. I mean, it's a great bike. I really like it, but for the price and what you're getting, I mean, 21 grand for a Sport Chief is a pretty tall order for an around town bike. And yes, you know, there are people who may do cross-country touring on it, put some bags, get a sissy bar, get a tail bag, whatever. I'm not even going to say it's good or bad for that, because I'll never know on a short little ride like this. I know for me, to ride this motorcycle long distance, I would have to redo the bars. You know, I'd have to be sitting upright, sitting back. No point in getting a Sport Chief if you're doing that. Would I get this over the FTR? Not a chance. Same kind of riding. I think the FTR is a little more comfortable. Certainly going to have a lot more power. Maybe not down, you know, low down in the revs. But once you get to about 3,500 RPMs, this bike is hitting its limit. You feel it plain as day, and the FTR is like, time to go to the moon, baby! See, like that should not happen. That's too much play in this throttle, and that, I've never experienced any motorcycle like that. It's a beautiful bike, Sport Chief. They did a really nice job with it. Oh yeah, it's got the Brembos. No wonder the brakes are so amazing. I really like the machine touches they put on the additions. It's nice. The 2024 Indian Sport Chief. Your mileage may vary.